Hello and welcome to LSTV1. You're watching the news in English. We are coming to you live from our main studio in Lamen, Kerawan. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Amie Fadera and these are the headlines from the Standard newspaper. Police says $155 million central bank corruption claims is a scam. President Adama Barrow says government to reduce resilience on foreign aid. NAM Fatu Mata Jawara cautioned members against politicizing economic issues. Gambia may miss WAEC exams over 11 to 12 million US dollars arrears. Police arrest 3 groundnut buyers over fake banknotes. Libya deports 54 illegal Gambian migrants. Mother of dead pregnant rape teenager testifies as trial begins. These and more other stories coming ahead your way. Stay tuned. Now the news in details. We begin our today's news with police says $155 million central bank corruption claims a scam. Police have said that investigation have revealed that a claim by a group of people that have handed over $155 million of mutilated notes to a central bank staff for change into new notes is a scam. Over the weekend, a letter from lawyer Lamin Cisse of Soli Chambers, written on behalf of his client and Sumana Ba, was leaked online. The letter addressed to Abdul Cisse, an employee of the bank, copied to the governor, urged him to return the $155 million alleged given to him. The lawyer further conveyed his client's claim that another $11.1 million was paid to Cisse upon his request to be distributed to named staff of the bank to facilitate the exchange. The matter was first reported to Saini Marina of online Al-Kamba Times, and whose headline it as a bribery scandal at the Reverse Bank. Denied in reaction, the central bank issued a statement saying Abdul Cisse has denied receiving the money and that a police investigation has been launched on the issue. On Saturday, the police issued its preliminary finding as follows, and I quote: in early 2021, Sumana Ba and others had an encounter with an organized claim group who encouraged them to form up a charitable organization in order for them to access funding from a certain unnamed philanthropist from outside the country. To avoid missing the opportunity, they quickly formed Jama Charitable Foundation. Apparently, they were made to believe by the fraudsters that the charitable organization had secured funding amounting to £2.5 million from a philanthropist in the UK to commence charitable operations in the Gambia. The fraudsters claimed that the said funds were smuggled into the country and put in boxes and kept safely in one of the houses of the partners turned scammers for a long period of time. The foundation members were informed by the fraudsters that the pounds were converted into local currencies equivalent to $155 million, partly mutilated, which needed to be changed into new notes at the central bank. The fraudsters made them to believe without seeing that changing or swapping the funds required payments of a certain amount as bribe to some role players at the bank through one Abdul Cisse. And Sumana and co were further lured into paying $11.1 million as bribe to fast-track the alleged swapping. They were promised that some name of central bank include Abdul Cisse to Sumana and Co. as part of the beneficiaries to the claimed bribe. The preliminary police investigations discovered that all the above revelations were false and deliberately made to lure Sumana and Co. to the monies of the scam in relation to the ill-intended scam. It was established that the fraudsters succeed in convincing Ansumana and Co. in establishing a foundation called Jama Charitable Foundation, purposely to extort money from its members. Ansumana claimed that during the period he and his colleagues raised about $4 million as their contribution towards the bribe. He raised his funds through the sale of his landed properties, assets and credit from families and friends to meet costs of the swap as requested by the fraudsters. Furthermore, they were made to believe that the other party or scammers were going to contribute towards the payment of the bribe. Neither Ansumana nor others foundation members did not visit the central bank during the period of the transaction. It was also established that Ansumana and the foundation members never interacted with any of the named central bank staff. However, investigations revealed that some of these scammers were the same people posing as bank staff to win the minds of the foundation members. The police are currently pursuing all possible clues to expose the truth and nab those responsible for these dubious activities. It is clear from facts gathered that neither Ansumana nor any of the foundation members had seen the £2.5 million that made £2.5 million nor the $155 million during the course of the entire transaction. Rather, they were only banking on statements made by the scammers, peddling informed on claims as given above are common attributes of the fraudsters, principally meant to entice their target victims. The police they are doing everything possible to buy the case. However, Mr. Marina of the Alcamba Times, who is in fact based in the U.S., has claimed that in this statement and standing by his story and said the public must not fall for the cover-up press statement from the Gambia police force on their so-called preliminary investigations into Central Bank of the Gambia corruption scandal. They are doing everything possible to bury the case and protect criminals at the top. We are in possession of the tangible evidence against those implicated in the scandal, Marina alleged. Lamin Cisse of Solly Chambers could not be reached for comments. And now to another story. President Barrow says government to reduce resilience on foreign aid. President Adama Barrow has said his administration is committed to reducing the country's dependence on foreign aid as he led Gambians on Friday in celebrating the country's 57th independence anniversary. President Adama Barrow said the attainment of true economic independence is contingent on how practical and how far Gambians are ready to go in raising the nation's productivity and production capabilities. In this area, the dilemma of African countries is largely remained that the attainment of economic independence in an interdependent world, like many other nations around the world, this is one of the Gambia's major challenges, Barrow said. The Gambian leader said, although absolute economic independence is impractical, it is certain that we can reduce our heavy dependence on the outside world. The question is, how can we do this meaningfully? He said the imbalance between import and export for the country is enormous and this needs to be offset. Generally, there is a great need to transform the population into a more productive resource. To free ourselves from economic dependence, among other strategies, we must invest more freely in the productive sector, produce as much as we want and consume as much as we need, and eat more homemade products. By the same token, we need to expand and patronize local businesses while developing, encouraging, and tapping local talents, he added. To increase the national economic income generation, President Barrow added, communities must be encouraged to set up joint business, engage in more productive ventures, and to make the most of the country's natural resources. Old and inefficient approaches have to give way to greater applications of technology and modern techniques to produce industrialization is solely one of the key areas to promote and develop. We should work towards mechanizing and diversifying agriculture and preserving and processing our produce and changing our lifestyle to depend less on imported goods and especially imported goods, commodities, he noted. The president said his vision for the Gambia is a nation with top-class infrastructure, sufficient energy for national coverage, and a technology-supported society that matches the digital world, of all which people growth and economic development, social cohesion through an inadequate equipped human resource base. To advance economically, there is an urgent need to inject value and drive value from whatever we do. We should insist on designing value-driven projects and programs that add value to the lives and livelihood of the people and ensure that our interventions yield tangible results that are not short-lived, he added. He challenged the relevant ministries and institutions to transform such ideals to workable strategies and infuse them into our next development plan and national policies. On the issue of the assembly elections, President Adama Barrow urged Gambians to commit themselves to the rule of law and to go about the electoral process in an orderly, peaceful manner. I quote, "We did well for the December 4th presidential elections and we can do better in the next round of elections," he said. Now, Fatoumata Jawara cautioned members against politicizing economic issues. The National Assembly member for Talining, Fatoumata Jawara, has cautioned her fellow members against misguiding Gambian security forces about the presence of the Senegalese soldiers in the country. Senegalese Jawara, who was expelled by the UDP and since allied herself to the party of the president, expressed her disappointments with some members for forgetting too soon about the Senegalese sacrifice in quelling the 1981 coup and the 2017 impasse. The lady lawmaker made the comment while contributing to the debate on the call by the Central Badibunam Suleiman Saho that government should withdraw the Senegalese contingent in the economic forces from Fonyi, who Saho urged that the Gambia is a sovereign state that should be in charge of its security. He said the presence of the Senegalese forces has put lives of the people of Fonyi at risk. But in her submission, Ms. Jawara contended that it is not the responsibility of the government to determine where troops on the economic are deployed. These Senegalese economic forces stationed in Fonyi were never determined by the government but by economic. We should all recall that in the early 80s, when there was a coup in the Gambia, our brother security forces from Senegal came to rescue us. But today, I am disappointed by the members of the parliament who wanted to turn themselves into state enemies. Let us stop misguiding our security forces, telling them that the government is not paying attention to them because of economic. We have our Gambian officers in other countries and they are well treated there. Jawara remarked, but the member of Fonyi Councillor Musa Amulnyasi cited Saho for neglecting the cries of his people from the early days in change in 2017. You cannot tell me you now have concern about our situation. We are comfortable. We will take the course and do our own fight and we will win and be vindicated, Nyasi charged. However, Suwaibu Ture of Woodley East commended Namsaho for issuing the statement. He warned against the Gambia entering reciprocal deals that we do not have the capacity to deal with the citing and controversial hot pursuit agreement. Senegalese soldiers controlling timber in our country is threatening security in our country, Ture of Doi warned. The Gambia may miss WAEC exams over 11 to 12 US million dollars areas. The permanent secretary at the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education has disclosed to lawmakers that pupils and students in the Gambia risk missing both the West African Senior Secondary School examinations WASE and the Gambia Basic Education Certificate Examination GABASE this year due to arrears owed to the West African Examination Council WAEC. Speaking during an interface with the National Assembly Joint Committee on Education and Public Finance on the recent teachers' strike, Louis Moses Mendy lamented that his ministry faces acute financial constraints, which among others led to the recent teachers' strike, as well as the possibility of missing out on examination conducted by WAEC. He said the country owes the council between 11 and 12 million US dollars, 50% of which must be paid as stipulated by the new WAEC administration, or the country risks missing WAEC exam. According to P.S. Mendy, his ministry had a meeting with the new WAEC chairman in January, where they were briefed about some new actions to be taken by the council at its annual meeting this month. One of the discussion is that we must pay our arrears as the country. Initially, they put it at 50%, and our WAEC arrears are over 11 to 12 million US dollars. 50% of that is over $350 million, P.S. Mendy revealed. He explained that these arrears were owed to WAEC for the conduct of examinations for the Gambian students writing grade 9 and 12 examinations, including printing of exam papers and DHL sending fees, among others. We have shared this with the Office of the Secretary General and Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs after our January meeting with WAEC for them to be in the know. We want your intervention, otherwise we stand the risk of not sitting both the WAS and the GABASE exams this year, she added. Permanent Secretary Mendy further disclosed that MOPC also owes $14 million to Gambia Teachers Union for payments of reconciles and other debts in millions of dollars to GSM companies. In fact, Gamtel and QCell have both disconnected us, he added. P.S. Mendy lamented that he is bringing these revelations to the attention of lawmakers for them to understand the financial difficulties at his ministry. Every day, we knock on the doors of the Ministry of Finance based on our cash plan, and if we could be getting what we submit, it will go for a long way to help us honor some of these payments, and then these problems would not have occurred. When we were opening schools, we had to budget of $18 million for face masks just to be told that the government cannot finance these things. It was a nightmare to pay for those things. Our names were on social media because those we contracted were constantly coming to the ministry saying everything. Police arrested 3 groundnut buyers over fake banknotes. The police have confirmed the arrest of 4 persons alleged paying farmers with counterfeit Gambian currency notes worth at least $100,000. The 3 men arrested in North Bank region have been identified as the president, secretary, and supplier of the Mintekunda groundnut buying Seiko. At least 8 farmers have complained to the police of being paid fake notes. The deputy spokesperson of the Gambia Police Force, Inspector Aliu Jamanka, told the Standard yesterday that the three are helping the police in their investigations. And I quote, "I can confirm to you that the Mintekunda Seko president, his secretary, and the person who supplied the money are being detained pending police investigation." When contacted for comments, the managing director of the Gambia Food Processing and Marketing Corporation, Mohammed Njai, said his office has learned about the issue, but it didn't have full details. I heard, however, the earlier commenting on the challenges of this year's peanut season, M.D. Njai said the absence of Chinese investors in the groundnut marketing this year has been a nightmare for the government. The Chinese have over 1 million tons of peanut in stock this year. That is why they are not in the market, which means that government is the only buyer. This is a regional challenge which is not limited to the Gambia, and it has created a nightmare in meeting the demands in the country, despite the fact that the bank Ajib has been delivering monies to the cooperative every week, Njai told the Standard. He said the problems has been exacerbated by the GGC receiving more than the volume of nuts targeted, but we are doing everything possible to ensure we pay everybody. I solicit the understanding of the farmers as we try to overcome these difficulties, Njai said. Njai said his office has learned important lessons with this year's season. He disclosed that the corporation has engaged an American consultancy firm to do feasibility study for a cooking oil refining plant in the Gambia. The document is out, and the investment cost of the plant is about $10.4 million. The study shows that it is viable, and the next point is to secure the funding and implement it. We are engaging private companies to get it done, he explained. He said the government has about over 30,000 metric tons this year compared to 7,200 tons in 2020 and 2,200 in 2019. We may even surpass the 30,000 tons and go up to 40,000 tons. This manifested that farmers are going back to the farm. I would like to thank the government and Ministry of Finance through my line ministry for giving us the necessary funding, Njai said. Libya deports 54 illegal Gambian migrants. A leading Libyan newspaper yesterday announced that an anti-illegal migration agency of the Maghrebi nation has deported 54 illegal migrants of the Gambian nationality to Banjul. According to the Libyan Observer, the deportation was done in cooperation with the Ain Zara Shelter Center through Mitiga International Airport. This came within the agency's effort to facilitate the procedures for immigrants wishing to return voluntarily to their countries in cooperation with the International Organization for Migration, the report stated. And now to our last story on the Standard newspaper. Mother of dead pregnant raped teenager testifies as trial begins. The trial of the rape case of a 16-year-old girl now deceased, allegedly involving one Aliu Jallo, a taxi driver, has commenced at the Banjul High Court in Banjul, with the girl's mother telling the court that her daughter went missing after she was abducted by the accused from Gloro, Combo East. Fatimata Jallo said she was not at home when the incident took place, but friends of her daughter told her that they saw Aliu taking her away in a taxi. She said although she reported the information to the Gloro police station, she didn't see her daughter again until after her demise. Fatimata was testifying as a prosecution witness against the accused, who is facing charges of abduction and defilement of her daughter. He is accused of unlawfully taking away the victim from her grandmother in a taxi and raping her. Prosecutors said this happened in July 2020 in Cloro. According to Fatoumata, she did not know about her daughter's whereabouts until the day Ali called her brother's wife, informing her that the girl has died. Her remains were brought back to Cloro for burials, but looking at her corpse, I realized that she was pregnant and I reported the matter to the police station for a second time, Fatoumata told the court. She said, consequently, the body of her daughter was taken to the hospital where it was confirmed that she was pregnant and that the dead baby or the fetus was removed from the womb before the remains were interred. The trial continues. Okay, viewers, that's all the news we have for today on the Standard newspaper. But before we take your leave, let's take a quick recap of our main stories. Police says $155 million central bank corruption claim is a scam. President Barrow says government to reduce resilience on foreign aid. Mother of dead pregnant rape victim begins testify. Libya deport 54 illegal Gambian migrants. Okay, that's all we have for you in today's news bulletin here on LSTV1. I was your presenter, Amie Fadera. Do join us on Wednesday for more news. Until then, stay tuned.